All right, what is up, fourth grade? All right, we are starting chapter 10, lesson 1. You should have watched your chapter 10 vocabulary video on Friday so that you could have familiarized yourself with some of the vocabulary words before we even got started. Today, we're going to dive right into lesson 1, and we are talking about lines, rays, and angles. So some of the vocabulary from Friday that we need to know for this lesson are point. A point, if you remember, is just an exact location in space. We can draw it like this. Point A, we can read it, point A, and if we write it, we would also write it, we would add out the word point and the letter of the point as well. Line, which is just a straight path of points that continues without end in both directions. Remember, those arrows on each side of that line let us know that it is going to continue on in each direction. And you can have points on that line to help name it. When you read the name of a line, you would say line BC or line CB. Remember, you can change those out. And you would write it like this: the name of the points, BC or CB, and the line symbol above it. Notice how the line symbol here has two arrows on each end, just like it would if you were to draw it. Ray, which is a part of a line that has one endpoint and continues without end in one direction. Remember, I said you could think of the dab to help you remember what a ray looks like. It's got one endpoint and then it continues on without end in one of the directions. You would read it like this: ray FG. The endpoint is always going to come first and the other point on the line will come second. And then you would write it like this: FG with the ray symbol that matches how we would draw it on top. Line segment, which is just a part of a line between two endpoints. So a line will go on forever in both directions. A line segment has two endpoints. It would look just like this if you were to draw it. Notice there are no arrows on either end, which means it is going to end right here with these points, D and E. You would read it like this. You would say line segment DE or line segment ED. And when you write it, it's going to look like this: the line segment symbol on top and the name of the points underneath. Again, notice how the symbol on top of the points matches what the line segment looks like. It does not have arrows. All right, then we've got an angle, which is just formed by two rays or two line segments that have the same endpoint. Remember, the shared endpoint is called a vertex. And an angle can look like this: FGH, and the vertex would be here, point G, where they share that endpoint. You could read it several ways. You could read it angle FGH, angle HGF, or just angle G. Just remember, when you are naming an angle, that the vertex must stay in the middle. You can't say angle FHG, okay? And when you write it, it's going to look like this: just an angle symbol, and then either FGH, HGF, or angle G. You can name it by its vertex as well. All right, let's look at the different types of angles. Speaking of angle, there are three different types. We've got four different types. We've got a right angle, which forms that square corner. Remember, I told you if you see that square corner right here, that's going to be the giveaway for a right angle. It's kind of like the corners of your houses or the corner of a table. A straight angle just forms a line. So it's going to look very similar to a line, but when it has that arch right there or the points along the way, you can see the vertex here in the middle, it is going to form a line. An acute angle, you can think of it as a cute little angle because acute angles are small. They are less than right angles, less than a right angle. And then we've got an obtuse angle. Obtuse angles are greater than a right angle, but they are still less than a straight angle. So they are going past that corner, but not quite all the way to a straight line. All right, let's look at some of these questions that we can do together. All right, we're going to name a line from this figure. Okay, so we've got some lines here that are crossing each other. We're going to go ahead and name a line. There are two lines that I see. I'm going to give you just a minute to look for yourself. All righty. Remember, lines go on without end in both directions. So the two lines I see here, here is one line. Ooh, clicked and I didn't mean to. Line CD right here. And then we've also got line AB going this direction. So line CD, you can see you got arrow in both directions, so it'll continue for both directions without end. And then line AB, that will also continue on without end in both directions. All right, same figure, but this time we are going to name a ray. Remember, a ray only has one endpoint and goes on without end in the other direction. Again, I'm going to let you look for just a minute to see if you can spot any rays on your own. All righty, I see several rays. So the first one I see right here, I'm going to use this endpoint of E. And this end goes on without end in this direction. So I could have ray E, A. I could also use this same point E and see ray E, C, because it stops here and goes on forever in this direction. Then I also see using the same point E, ray E, B, going on in this direction. And then I also see one more, same point here, going on in one direction this way for ray E, D. Ray E, D. So ray E, A, ray E, C, ray E, B, and ray E, D. All right, let's see if we can find an acute angle in this shape. Remember, acute angles are smaller than right angles, so they're going to be the smaller angle. So I'm going to give you just a second to see if you can spot any acute angles. Okay, let's look here at this figure. So I see two acute angles. The first acute angle I see is right here, angle AEC. You see how the opening right here is smaller than a right angle? It doesn't form that corner and it's got a little bit smaller. So angle AEC, or we could also name it CEA or just angle E. All right, and then the other one I see is over here on this side. Small angle right here, angle DEB, angle BED, or angle E, depending on how you want to name that. Notice how we cannot say that these angles on these sides are acute because they are much wider than a right angle. So those would be obtuse angles. All right, let's look at some of these pattern blocks to see if we can name the angles in the shapes. So we're going to look at this hexagon. Remember, a hexagon has 6 sides, and we're going to look at what kind of angles we see. So look at all of these angles right here. Would you think those angles are all acute, obtuse, right, or straight, or a mixture? Yeah, very good. Those are all going to be obtuse angles. They are all much larger than a right angle. Very good. All right, what about in a square? In a square, what kind of angles do we have? Very good. We have 4 right angles in a square. All of these form corners. Great job. What about in a trapezoid? There's 2 acute angles and 2 obtuse angles. So which angles would be acute? Which angles would be acute? Very good. Angle KNM would be acute, and angle LMN would be acute. Very good. Which means that these angles up top are are our obtuse angles. Angle MLK and angle NKL. Very good. All righty. So we have got a triangle. What kind of angles do you see in this triangle? Acute, obtuse, right, or straight? Very good. All of the angles in this triangle are acute. Very good. All right, boys and girls, that is it. Make sure that no matter who your teacher is, you are always checking your folders for any assignments you might have. And I will see you back here tomorrow for 10.2. Have a great day.